Welcome back to an Eastern Conference Finals edition of Up in the Blue Seats, our New York Rangers podcast from the New York Post. I'm former Ranger Brian Boyle here with Mollie Walker, the Rangers beat writer at the Post. Larry Brooks is here in spirit, but I don't think we'll hear from him. He's next to Mollie in an airport right now. The things we're doing for our listeners, we love you. If you're watching on the New York Post Sports YouTube page, make sure you smash that thumbs up button. Comment below how you feel about the Rangers right now. As the series with the Panthers is tied up at 2. Not too surprising. And the Blue Shirts will return home for Game 5 on Thursday night. I have my thoughts, but I'm going to kick it over to Mollie, who was in the building. What do you got for us?
The Fort Lauderdale Airport building. I don't even know where to start. There's so many different places to start.
There's one place.
Oh, okay. Go ahead then.
The D zone needs to go back to whatever they were doing. This is a disaster. You can't play man on man and have success in the NHL. The players are too good, and you certainly can't do it in the Eastern Conference Final against the other best team in the Eastern Conference. And that is where it starts and finishes. You can say different things about different players. What you're getting from Igor right now is otherworldly, and you need to organize in the D zone, and man on man is not organized. It's chaos. And Carolina Hurricanes have been doing it for 6 years, and for 6 years they've fallen short. There it is.
No, that's a fair starting point. I will say, if you look at the 4-game body of work, the Panthers look like the better team, obviously. It looks like the Rangers are going to have a really tough time getting 2 more wins if they continue to play the way that they're playing. They are getting caved in terms of shot attempts. And the Rangers are blocking some of them as well, but because they never have the puck. They are getting hemmed in their zone way too many times a game for extensive period of time. Igor is Igoring, but even Igor can't sustain that for as long as he's had to in this series. I think that the Rangers are very fortunate to be in this, for it to be tied 2-2. But at the same time, you look at the games that they have won. The Rangers are who they've been all year. They're opportunistic. They pull it out and on the back of Igor Shesterkin and on some guy coming up clutch, and Barclay Goodrow has been that. Alexis Lafreniere has been that. So at the same time, I also look at the Rangers and I'm like, well, you know what? They are who they've been all year at the same time. They are still in it. They're still finding ways. And it's come down to a best of 3 now. But they have to change. Something has to change, because if they don't, this is headed in a bad direction for them, for sure.
Okay, so this is why I think it starts and finishes in the D zone. So everything you just said, I think, is a product of what they're doing. Their scheme, whatever schematically they're doing in the D zone, has changed. And Florida is a forechecking team. They can do things off the rush. They have a ton of talent, but they want to bully teams. They physically come in, and if you go a 10-minute stretch, which is a crazy amount of time, but they've been doing 10-minute stretches of just dominant, zone time, ice tilted, whatever the hell the new thing is. They're in the offensive zone constantly. They're
nonstop.
Are not taxed. Their forwards are not taxed. It's so much easier to play offense than defense on your body physically. So when the Rangers finally get it in, they're gassed. They can't sustain a forecheck because they're too tired, because they're working too hard. They weren't in the first period, as you saw, and the ice got, you get the long change in the second, and then the game changed. The Rangers had a great first period because they were.
It was their best period I think it was their best period of the series, and arguably their best period of the playoffs when you consider who they're playing. Absolutely. How they were able to get up 1-0 on and that's why it was so glaring going from one period to the next. But that's what happens when you are constantly on defense, when you are constantly defending. You're gassed.
They can't close out plays. So they can't, if you can't close out plays, especially below the dots or below even the tops of the circles, which they can't do because they're doing man on man, they're running around. The amount of times I saw Rangers players backs to their net and backs to the puck, chasing their quote unquote check, because it's man on man. Whatever happens with the puck during the battle, the one-on-one battle with the puck, 4 other players, for the most part, are looking at their checks. You need to be paying attention to what's going on with the puck while staying with your check and also supporting that player who's checking the player with the puck. So there's high and low cycles. There's these like crisscross exchanges that Florida's doing where they're able to walk straight out across the dot line, east-west, and have these point-blank chances that Igor has to save. And then when the Rangers get a hold of the puck, everybody's man on man. So the right wing's over on the left side. They don't know where to go with the puck. It looked like they were not poised. It wasn't that they weren't poised. They had nowhere to go with the puck. Because when you have man on man up top with the 2D and the forwards to a certain point, and then you kind of spread the responsibility around with the 2D in the center, everybody's in the right position when you finally do get the puck. And you can make one pass and one chip if you don't have another play and you're out. Or you can make 2 passes and you can leave with possession. And they can't do that with a man-on-man, especially against Florida. So what does that do? Well, your shot volume means you're getting caved in. You're getting more shots against than you're taking. You're spending more energy in the D zone. You're not organized. And then when you get the puck, you just survive and you get off and you take a deep breath when you get back to the bench saying, thank God they didn't score. That's
Actually,
no way to win a hockey.
no.
It's never worked. I don't know what they're doing. If you have possession most of the time, you're winning all the draws and you're dictating play. It doesn't matter what you're doing in your D zone. They weren't in their D zone in the first period because they had the puck. They were skating. So it's not I wouldn't coin flip it. Like, why would you risk a coin flip saying, I hope we have the puck all game and play that sort of defense? Because then one shift can change a whole period for the other team. Like Florida can change a whole period with one shift, and that shouldn't be the case. You should be able to punch, get punched, and punch back. And they couldn't punch back. They threw one punch in the first, and that was it.
Just feels like the first period was the first time that I had saw the Rangers disrupt the Panthers in transition, make it more difficult for them to get up ice, because every other time it's been the Rangers trying to get up ice this series, it just looks so strenuous. It looks like it's taking so much out of them to just get up the ice because of how this Panthers team is disrupting them in transition and getting to pucks first. A lot of it is puck battles too. The way that this Panthers team hunts pucks is, I mean, I see them twice a year in the regular season. Watching this team up close now, I mean, it's unbelievable how hard and how mean they are. Ryan Lomberg has to be hurt, because I truly couldn't believe that he got taken out of the lineup, because that guy, what an absolute pest in on every play. I mean, the hit on Jamie Vesey that knocked him out week to week, he's a mean he almost reminds me of Tyler Mott a little bit, but like meaner and like obviously I think a little bit more skilled and just a better player all around. But just in terms of that like little Energizer bunny like presence on the ice that's just everywhere, and what a difficult force to defend. It's been quite a series. 2-2 is fortunate for the Rangers. I mean, both home teams split. And now it's just going to be it's going to be for the Rangers if they can adjust to actually find some significant pushback, because otherwise the trajectory of this series is not doing well. I mean, we could talk about Jacob Trouba getting the fine, but I really liked him and the team, Peter Laviolette included, their response to that, because if the Rangers aren't playing that way, they're not going to win this series. They have, even obviously, you can't be taking 6 penalties. You don't want to be that undisciplined, but they have to match their meanness. They have to match their physicality. They have to.
Yeah, I get all that. And I think they are. And so the credit I'm going to give them is I've I've seen that. I've been a part of teams like that where it's so incredibly difficult to check that way and play defense that way. No matter who you're playing against, it takes so much out of you. And so they're giving it like probably more than they even have in the tank. I love what I'm seeing effort wise from them. It's not an effort thing.
Hmm.
You see like
No, I
lost
don't
puck
think so
battles.
either.
You see lost puck battles in the offensive zone. That's just the result of them defending for 40 straight minutes. And
Yeah.
Chris Kreider said it in the post game, like I have to be better. Pucks, I torpedoed a couple plays. I need to hold on to and make them defend. And yeah, you do, but when you touch the puck 3 times in a period in the offensive zone and you're on a top line, that can really mess with your psyche. And you can see it when they get one goal, they're like, oh, let's hang on. Well, they're
Yeah.
confident defending in their zone. So something needs to be adjusted, and I'm confident that they will adjust because no way. It's over if that's how they're going to continue to defend in their D zone. It doesn't, and I think it's a scheme. I think that's a Labby job. He's got to make that adjustment. I really liked what I saw from Blake Wheeler. I just got to
Yeah.
give him a shout out. I mean,
Absolutely.
I've never like he was trying so hard. I like
Hmm.
playing a little bit more. To your point on Lomberg, he's like a Jordan Tutu. I don't know if you remember him played in that
Hmm.
train,
Yep.
the Tutu train. He would blow guys up, and he'd
Yeah.
find it. And
He
that
packs a big punch for a little guy.
yeah,
I think he's listed at 5 foot. I looked it up because I had to look. He's listed at 5'9". He doesn't play like it at all.
cigarette machine. And those guys are hard to hit because they're so low to the ice, and then when
Yeah.
they take a piece out of you when they hit. Yeah, he's a tough player. I got a lot of respect for Lomberg. I don't know why he's out, but again, Lawrence and Opozo had a great chance. Igor made a great save on him.
He did make a big save.
There
I mean,
was
Igor's
not.
been spectacular.
I like the power play though. Let's talk really quick. I
Yeah,
mean, they didn't get
finally.
set up. They didn't establish a shot in the other 3 games. They finally did. They won a draw. They just took a low percentage shot even, but it posed a threat that the shot was going to get through.
Mhm.
And that's what kind of opened everything else up. That's usually what it does. I think Mika's one-timer is useless. Bob gave up 1 goal on that shot all year.
It's been, well, I mean, teams know it now. Teams are waiting for it. I've talked to him about it before. You can see it in the way that they defend him now on the power play. They are waiting for it. Goalies, I think, know to get over that much quicker because they are ready for it.
Well,
And
he's outside
I
the
have,
dots. It's too high.
yeah, and I haven't seen him score on it in a while, honestly, now that I think about it. But I mean, we could the power play, getting the power play going, getting their star guys going. That's what needs to happen. They cannot win a series with Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider not having a single point. Artemi Panarin needs to score a goal. Adam Fox, I thought, looked better in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
Penalty kill. Larry's giving me notes. Penalty kill needs to be better.
That was awful in OT. I don't know what they were doing. Why is he running out? The 5 best offensive players on Florida have possession. You don't skate straight at them. And I don't know if Trouba thought Goudreau was going to stay higher on Montour and pressure up that way. But he goes and hits. He finishes a hit. You can't. That's rule number 1. That's like you can't finish a hit on the PK when they have possession because then he gets stuck. It opens up the lane down low to high from Montour to Barkov. And then where do you think he's going? The guy who had 27 power play goals is sitting all in the slot. He goes bar down for a reason. That's like what Troach did. So tighten up. You don't go running around. There's so much running around in the D zone. The penalty kill can be such a weapon for them. It has so far in this series in different ways. But the goals they've given up, I think, could have been avoided.
Back to Blake Wheeler. Obviously, the game-winning or the play that led to the game-winning overtime power play goal.
On Mika, 100%.
Obviously, yeah, it was on Mika, and Mika. I could read Mika's quote too, but yeah, the pass was obviously ill-advised, picked off, goes down. Could have been penalty shot,
Could have been.
which I think Maurice. Someone asked Maurice about it, which Maurice has been such a funny, excuse me, such a funny quote in this series. Anywho, so Blake Wheeler came out this morning actually, and he had a quote. I'll read it now. I've replayed it because he took the penalty to prevent the breakaway goal. I've replayed it a million times last night and this morning, and I own that play. I talked to Shesty about it after and asked if he'd prefer I let Barkov take that look. If I trust anyone to make the save, it's him. So you got to give credit to Blake Wheeler for coming out and acknowledging it. Mika came out last night and, talked about needing to make better decisions. He owned it too. So, they just tighten up, like you said, tighten up.
Yeah. And look, Mika is trying to make a play because that's what he's paid to do. And that's what they're counting on him to do. And I get it, but it's a 2-on-4 in that scenario. And you're just inside the blue line. Your support is all the way down below the dots. If you can finally get something going in a long change period, like the first overtime is, Cooley's flying down. He's there, just a soft one down. And he knows that. He obviously doesn't know that the D are changing. So
that was bad change.
Well, it wasn't really though, because he has full possession and they think
I guess
they're not going to try something east-west because we've been on the ice for a minute and it's a 2-on-4, and I get why they changed. So it's just like those things I don't think continue to happen. But I'm telling you, when you defend that much, you can't think straight. It's that.
Yeah. That's what it comes down to. I mean, I can't even believe. I mean, the last 40 minutes of Game 4 was played almost entirely in the Rangers' end. It was such a 180 from the opening 20 minutes. It's just not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Something's got to change. I think I'm curious. Obviously, Laviolette wouldn't say anything about the lineup this morning, but I'm curious. I was happy to see that he kept Rempian on the road, because I almost find it a little bit disrespectful to the player. Like, just cut the strings and let him go. Like you can't shelter him forever. You can't. And honestly, I thought again in a limited amount of time that he had, I thought he was good. I think he makes things happen. I think the fourth line had a couple of offensive zone shifts. He gets to the net. He just brings chaos. I think he should stay in. Especially with, they need that presence on the ice against this team.
Well,
they need more of that.
He tried to score without a stick at one point. I think it was
Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah. And defensively, I trust him. He's done the right things. So
it's been fine. He hasn't gotten burned yet.
No,
and maybe he will. Maybe he will, and you'll learn. But then that's how you learn. But
everybody's been burned so far, and it's not him.
Yeah,
so it's not him. Go.
Yeah, just let him go.
Need a right winger. We need a right winger on the top line. Need somebody to give us.
I know. Yeah, we could also talk about Hedel. Hedel obviously comes out, and word is that he's healthy, and the Rangers are just trying to manage his workload, which I understand. And Larry actually asked Laviolette about his lineup decisions, if he's making them just to win the next game, or if he's looking at how many wins he needs to win the Stanley Cup, looking at the longevity of the lineup. That's
a great question.
Right? It is. Yeah, that's why Larry gets paid the big bucks. So, I understand why they brought Philip Hedel in when they did. They clearly think that they need him for the longevity of this run, and I'm sure that they do in a way. But this whole back and forth, he plays 3 straight games. He comes out. They're trying to. I wonder if how much of it is them, and how much of it is him not being able to go, not being. That's the question here, because otherwise it's just becoming this whole other storyline that you have to pay attention to. How are they handling Philip Hedel? For me,
no, I know the concern. I agree.
Yeah.
If he was more effective and he came out, I would be more worried.
That's the other thing. No, that's the other layer to it. He's not playing very well either. It's no knock on him. Yeah, it's been 6+ months.
Right.
it's a really unique situation. There's a lot of layers to it, a lot of things to talk about with it. I just think it's when you have to make those changes. I don't know. I mean, you can speak to this more. Is it disruptive? Is it, when you're in a playoff run, you're trying to, get time together, get something going, and the lines have had to change a few times now. The VC injury, so it's kind of like, I
The
mean, you
VC
could speak
injury,
better to it.
the VC injury hurts because they were starting to get like a really trusted,
Yeah,
consistent thing going on one of the lines, and that happens. But when you're not particularly playing great as a team, the changes aren't going to disrupt anything because what is it?
yeah,
It's
right.
not going to make it worse. Like you're trying to find something, and that's fine. I think you want to build chemistry and say all that you want, but it's like, all right, I just gave you a whole game and you got nothing out of it. Let's see. Part of that's usage, but it's so hard to get guys in favorable situations, especially on the road when you're surviving for so many minutes of the game. So they
It's
need
really
to.
been it's unbelievable, Brian.
It's
They're surviving. They're surviving. That's the word. They're surviving. Something's got to give.
I think it's
Something's got to
schematic. I
change.
think it's just a scheme thing. Honestly, they're working so hard. I think if they change it up just a little bit and work on it a little bit.
Artemi's got to make his stamp on this series. Mika's got to make his stamp on this series. Chris
Assists.
has got to make his stamp
Yeah,
on this series. It's
they got to get
important.
in the middle. I mean, Chris and Mika 5-on-5. They need a right winger. They're getting nothing. And Artemi is he's so good that he has a couple assists. One of the
Yeah.
power play, but he's so perimeter. He's got to get. He was scoring goals this year because he was getting into the middle of the ice and shooting the puck. You haven't seen it yet. So he's got to
I
get.
mean, you could probably speak better to Barkov. What have you seen from him? And that seems to be, I mean, it's been a storyline for Mika and his line in the last few playoffs about the lines that they get matched up with. So Barkov certainly has something to do with it.
Yeah, I mean he checks every box. Your number one center, physicality, defensive awareness. A great stick, creative distributor, can finish. He gets to the middle of the ice. You can't touch him because he's 6'4", 230. He's relentless. The guy has a motor like no one else. There's not a lot of guys I've played with that work and are dedicated to every facet like him. So yeah, that's a challenge. That's why they are where they are. Last year he learned a lot too. So he's playing with, and Barkey's not doesn't have one mean bone in his body.
Mm-hmm.
This is the meanest he's ever played. And
Mm.
it's not like he's not like Kachuk. He's not like Long.
Yeah.
Not even like Bennett.
Oh.
He's he's not being too nice, and that is like what I tell young kids when they go into a corner and they kind of turn their back a little because they don't want to run into the other kid and knock him over. I've actually had to tell it to my son before. Don't hit the guy, but you don't have to be so nice. That's your puck too. And Barkey's like, all right, it's my puck. And no one's really going to get it. When he plays like that, he's really difficult to contain. And it takes two guys to get him. And when it's man on man, no one can stop him. So stop doing man on man.
That is Brian's final word. Can we just talk about, just before we start looking at game 5, can we talk about Chris Kreider taking Matthew Tkachuk's mouth guard right out of his mouth and throwing it?
Oh, I thought that was going to like change everything. Like they're winning this game.
Can I just say it's about time somebody did that to Matthew Tkachuk? But like the Rangers need to channel that. I genuinely believe that. I really think that that's going to be a huge key for them, is maintaining that physical, matching that mean presence. Because they're already getting bullied in the play. If they don't keep taking their hits and finishing their checks the same way the Panthers are, and if some of them come out a little cheap, just like both teams have had in this series, that's just the byproduct of playoff hockey. They can't lose that. They can't lose it.
I don't get the narrative, these big bad Panthers. Like they play really hard. I give them a lot of credit. They, as a unit, as a team, they really stick together and all kind of take on the same personality. But like aside from Lomberg and maybe Bennett, like no one's
What about
really,
Kachuk?
no one, not he's not. I mean, he plays hard, but Lomberg and Bennett can actually fight and hurt you, and some guys, but like the Rangers can match up with all that. That's just a
No,
win.
I think they can. I think they
There's
can.
no, they're not the Flyers. They're not, from back in the day. They're not a 2011
Well,
Boston Bruins.
nobody's from back in the day anymore.
Well, I mean, even 2011 Bruins had like 7 guys that go toe to toe with anyone. Like that's not what we're looking at here. These guys just play hard and maybe a little dirty. And
No, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
you can match that.
Yeah, they have
Don't
to.
get pushed around. It's like no one's fighting. You got Rempe. You could just go torpedo anyone, blow them up. Anyways, I think they're. Look,
Who was he wagging his? He was wagging his finger at somebody last night. No, no, no.
and the refs need to
That's
leave
it.
him
I
alone.
know. Yeah,
Like,
that pisses me off too.
so stupid just because he's a big man. Like freaking pound sand refs. And at some point, even if it's just a little poke or a little nudge or a little elbow, someone needs to get a goalie interference on Igor. He keeps getting poked and prodded, and you can't do that. You got to leave the goalies alone, or someone needs to take a big penalty by breaking someone's face if they keep touching Igor. Like,
Yeah,
it's fine. I don't care.
well, we saw that from Gustafson. Gustafson answered. Gustafson
Right.
threw somebody down because he didn't like how close, but he got penalized for it. It's
Yeah,
tough.
if you throw him
It's.
down,
I
like,
mean,
make him
I
hurt a
don't
little.
want to. I don't want to talk about the officiating, but I really it's been really interesting how it's been called. It just is. It is. That's all I'll say on that.
For game 5, they're back at home. You need another first period like you had, but you can't let it get away from you. And when it does, these teams that win, like no one wins a cup and dominates every period of every game, right? They adjust, and I'm really looking forward to an adjustment. I think they're smart guys behind the bench. I think they're smart guys playing the game.
Me too.
They can't go in with that same sort of scheme.
Yeah. I don't even like the 1-3-1 that they pull out against this Panthers team sometimes.
Yeah, there's a psyche that goes into when you're defending. You just think you're gonna get diced through, like when when you're defending
and they have.
Yeah,
and they have.
That's confidence. I think it's a confidence thing. When you're killing plays and you're like, "Oh, I'm killing plays," it's the same thing on a penalty kill. It's like they're not getting anything for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You just kind of ride that wave. So they can flush it. They got enough time. Hopefully
It's the best of 3. It's the best of 3 now.
do her at the Garden. So get it going. Even though it doesn't matter in this year's playoffs where the games are played. Well, I love the little airport cast.
Did you?
Yeah, I'm just fired up. That's lovely. I missed that.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I got my mini bagel. If anybody wants to see it, got my little tiny disgrace of a bagel.
Yes.
Some fruit.
It looks like it's a pack of 3.
My other snack of choice, some Chex Mix for the flight.
All right, there you go.
What's your airplane snack, Brian?
More recently, since I've stopped playing, it's beef jerky and
since I can eat what I want now.
Can't. When I played, I could. Now it's like now I cannot. So it's beef jerky and pistachios. Before it'd be like a big old bag of peanut M&Ms.
Oh, that's what Larry had, peanut M&Ms at the hotel the other night.
At my hotel last night after the game, I was starving. I got pretzels. I was staring at a king size bag of peanut M&Ms, and I just grabbed
Good stuff.
Awesome. Thanks, Molly. That was awesome. We will chat with you again next week. And I'll probably see you at game 5. I will be up top, I think, again at some point. So
great.
Safe travels. Awesome. Coming up next on Up in the Blue Seats. Coming up next on Up in the Blue Seats, it's my boiling point, and it's reading. No, just kidding. All right, I got a quick boiling point, and I mean, I get that everything is costing more money these days, and that's fine. It's not really. It's kind of a little crooked, but like I went to the airport to get a bottle of water. I'm with my family. I'm trying to get the kids some water, and the kids got like chips for our flight home. And I'm not even gonna get into the airport and the costs and all that crap, but like I bought a couple bottles of water and a couple bags of chips, and it was like $47. Like water's $7. It's water. How is water $7? It reminds me of the movie The Lorax, the Dr. Seuss movie, where the dude's selling air to people and they're buying it. Like, what? We're in America and you can't just get clean water to drink that's good for you. They charge you $7. You got to have water to live. Why is water $7? Somebody's screwing us. I don't like it. That's it. That's my boiling point.
Not really a Chex Mix guy, Brian. More of a Cool Ranch Dorito kind of airport
Oh,
guy.
yeah, dude.
Those are. I actually have a Dorito sweatshirt, and I can't find the Cool Ranch Dorito sweatshirt. That's the next add to my food fashion collection.
You got a red one, and you want the blue one?
I have the red. I also have a Flamin' Hot Cheetos, a black and orange one, and a regular Cheetos one. I had a phase over COVID where I was buying clothes that I eat, so I just look like a walking snack. I had like a ramen noodle one, like it's just ridiculous. As that says, goodnight to episode 159 of Up in the Blue Seats, our New York Rangers podcast from the New York Post. Let's give out some stars. Who's your first star of the week?
It's got to be Igor Shesterkin. He is keeping them afloat. He's keeping them alive. He's playing fantastic. This is a high level of goaltending. At points, he's been in the heads of some of the Florida Panthers, and it's amazing to see.
My star is going to Barkley. It's Barclay Goodrow. And I know that because I ended up meeting his sister on Friday night after the game. Very nice lady. And she said, like, make sure you don't, it's not Barkley. And it's like Goodrow. It's Goodrow. 2 goals, Brian, in game 3, including the overtime game winner. He's had 6 goals, excuse me, in the playoffs after having 4 all regular season. This guy has come out of nowhere in the playoffs to be a goal scorer, and the Rangers needed it badly, and he carried them on Friday night. What a win it was. So he definitely deserves a star. And our joint star, is it a Laffy Trocchi combo this week?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, Laffy, he has arrived. He is a star. He is a threat offensively almost every shift. And Troach has just been so valuable to this team. Had a big goal in game 4 when they really did need it, especially the power play itself needed something good to happen after the first 3 games. So, but you got to give it to Laffy because the 5-on-5 play, he's not really getting as many looks on the power play. I think that is something to maybe take a peek at. Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe you don't want to rock the boat too much. But back to Gaudreau. He's a really good hockey player. He's been in this situation before. He has offensive ability, but he's not cast in that role. So, like, I love it when guys like this do the right thing all year long. I'm not getting paid to score a ton of goals. I'm not put in that position. When the opportunity presents itself, these guys are all really good hockey players. So obviously I'm biased. That was kind of my role, similar situation. 6 goals is incredible for what he's being asked to do. I at one point said, watch him get 5 this playoff run. I was wrong. He's already at 6. Hopefully he continues it. There are good things. Okay. The sky is not falling. They can adjust. This is not over. Obviously, they have 2 of the next 3 at home. You can feel pretty crappy about what we saw last night in game 4, but understand it's about adjustments. They're here for a reason. Get excited about game 5 at home.
Yeah, and you could say all you want how the Rangers have been outplayed. They've won 2 games and they have home ice, and that's period, stop, end of story. And it doesn't matter how they happen as long as you end up in the winning column. And these games, I've been watching American Whiskey, heart palpitations. I mean, overtime. I mean, can we get a regulation victory? Can you get a 2-goal victory? Can we get an empty netter? Can we make it a little bit easier? But otherwise, it's been a fun ride. I mean, these games are thrilling, and it's playoff hockey at its finest. And the Garden will be absolutely buzzing. Now, you'll be there doing pre and post, and you'll be in the arena doing it.
I'll go in the arena for the first and second. For game 5, I'll go in, and then for the third, I got to kind of, get my makeup back on and look pretty for the folks tuning in on their TVs.
All right. Well, hopefully they have a nice lead, so you don't so you get a nice like 4-2 lead going back to get your makeup done and a victory. So we'll be back sometime next week. Now that's going to go at least 6, obviously, which is Saturday. Game 7 would be at the Garden Monday. So if it goes 7, we'll talk to you Tuesday to hopefully preview the Stanley Cup final. And, we said Rangers in 7. So our prediction, Tuesday is that we're here talking about that and looking ahead to a series that'll keep you busy. You'll be traveling city to city to city.
I'm never.
Do you have a preference? I guess you don't want Edmonton, right?
I don't want to have to go to Edmonton. And nothing against Edmonton. It's just far as customs, and it's just based on my convenience. If I have to go to Edmonton and watch Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, it's not the worst day in the world.
But if you go to Dallas and have some barbecue, it would probably be a little bit nicer and not have it's a much longer flight to Edmonton, right, than Dallas?
It's a little trickier to get there. Look, I go and I work. Okay, it's not a vacation. I'm all business. You know that.
Until you're in the city with caviar dip. That's when, once the caviar dip comes out, it's a different story. It's a game changer. So Boyle will have you covered. MSG Network, NHL Network, catch them on there. You're on there today, right? 4 to 6 p.m.
I am on there today, yes, and then I'll be back pre and post on MSG Networks again, like you said, for game 5 and at the building on Thursday.
All right, get a cup of coffee, and this man needs a nap. He is just guns blazing right now. This whole playoff run. You can follow him on Twitter at BryBrows22. Follow Mollie at Mollie Walker 2E2Rs. Follow me at Jake Brown Radio. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button below. Comment below how you're feeling. How do you see the rest of this series playing out? And make sure you're subscribed there on the New York Post Sports YouTube. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts. Just search for Up in the Blue Seats. For Brian Boyle, Mollie Walker, a quick guest appearance from Larry Brooks, I'm Jake Brown. The crew will be back with a new episode of Up in the Blue Seats next week. So stay tuned. We'll see how the series plays out. Enjoy it. And let's go Rangers.